But here's Charlamagne on the Breakfast Club, one of the biggest platforms. Listen to this.
Plies is absolutely positively wrong. If people are asking questions, that's great. I don't even know why Plies is making this a black woman versus black man thing. This isn't about black men and black women. It's about elected officials and potential voters. The whole point of campaign season is for candidates to go out there and explain to the American people why they should be the one in charge of this country. Votes are earned, not given, and they are earned through you going out there and explaining yourself. Vice President Kamala Harris has to go out there and explain her agenda and why she's the person for the job. Former President Donald Trump has to go out there and explain his agenda and why he should be the person to get his job again, or get the job again. I don't understand Plies or any black person for that matter telling black people to just settle. Just accept whatever the candidate is giving you. Don't ask any questions.
Yeah, but they've been doing it.
They don't have to explain anything to us.
They've been doing it for a long time. Even with Biden, when we ask questions, Biden, well, it's the best of two evils. You know what I mean? You got to pick one. But no, if you have questions, people should be able to ask. That's the point of a politician, right? They're supposed to represent us, represent our district, represent our country. Shouldn't we ask?
And by the way, they should be explaining without us asking. That's the whole point of them doing these press conferences and these meetings. Yeah. The same way these politicians have meetings for their donors and they have rallies and press conferences explaining themselves and their agendas to certain groups.
So what Plies was talking about is he was calling out black men for constantly telling Kamala Harris to explain herself, but not doing the same for white men like Trump. That's what Plies was saying.
Right.
And so he was saying there's a different standard for a black woman, obviously. Same thing happened with Stacey Abrams, right? And I don't get this narrative that who's saying that we can't ask our politicians? Yeah. Who's saying that? I don't know. Is the Breakfast Club upset because Kamala Harris may not come back on the show? On their show, I don't really understand who's saying that. I mean, we're very critical. People are always making demands and asking, and as they should.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
part of the issue is that sometimes when the question is answered, you either don't know or don't care, right?
That's
so you
exactly
have to know
right.
you have to know what has been addressed, maybe do a follow-up question, what to ask. I'll never forget when the Breakfast Club sat down when Angela Yee was still on the show with President Barack Obama. I wish I had the clip. And Charlamagne tried to grill Obama on what he's done for the black community. Obama had the list. From the My Brother's Keeper initiative to the black unemployment rate to the Affordable Care Act to HBCUs to the National Task Force on Policing, which nobody talks about, to the 2010 Fair Sentencing Act, which nobody talks about, that became the First Step Act. And Charlamagne was just humming. So I don't know Charlamagne, never met him, but I'm just saying that it is the double standard of it all.
Yeah, for sure.
It is a double. Trump has never been on your show, Charlamagne. Never been on your show. I don't know why he hasn't. I'm sure it would be a softball interview. I'm sure you're going to have Ann Coulter next.
They
right?
have less smoke from the Getty sitting up there saying that America has never been a racist country than they do for VP.
Right. Exactly. You gave more heat to Monique than you did Candace Owens and Vivek Ramaswamy.
Who's been on the show multiple times, by the way. Have you noticed that? He's been on, even after he dropped out, he's been on recently. And I'm like, what the fuck is he on the show?
I want us to be really, really clear from the late, great Joe Madison, who Vice President Kamala Harris sat down with him several times, to Larry Daniel Favors, to myself, to Karen Hunter, to Reese Colbert. We have no issue questioning or grilling any politician. I had Josh Stein on my show running for governor of North Carolina, a Democrat, and I grilled his ass.
Did.
For his horrible record with the wrongfully convicted, and I'd do it again. All right? I'd do it again. So this idea that we're lazy and shiftless and not asking questions and not caring and bowing down because someone's a Democrat. I mean, I say this respectfully. I'll then let you take it, Reese, and we have tons of calls. You know, black voters don't just give up their vote. We may not vote Republican, but we won't vote at all.
Yeah.
How do I know that? The voter turnout numbers. You got to work for the black vote. This idea, black folks just vote Democrat without even thinking. That is not true. A lot of us aren't voting at all.
They're
Okay?
choosing the couch, honey, and not the JD Vance way.
Exactly. You want to know what the largest voting block is?
Non-voter.
One of the largest voting blocks, non-voter, but for the ones who vote, 44% of the electorate as of 2020 was non-college educated white folks. 44%. That's a huge number. And you know what? They voted high. They have a high voter turnout. That's why Trump ain't trying to get black voters or Hispanic voters.
Yep.
He wants that base. That's the winning coalition. Just one base. That 44%, if you get 70% of them to turn out, you're good. You're good. So this idea that we're just lazy, shiftless, uneducated people who vote without asking questions, that is not true. 2016, the black voter turnout rate was 59%. 8% voted Republican. 1% voted independent. So yeah, I mean, come on now. Let's understand numbers and data and what it really looks like. And no one is not asking Vice President Kamala Harris questions. I think no one is doing that. That's just ridiculous. Go ahead, Reese.
I mean, I didn't see what Plies said. I actually, and I'm not saying he said this, I actually dislike the talking points that say, well, why are you asking anything of VP? She's just a VP. She hasn't done anything. I've broken down many times the laundry list of things that she has done. I've broken down many times, even reported directly from the White House, how she has influenced the Biden-Harris administration policies. So I don't like even the talking point of, well, what do you expect from her? She's just number two. She doesn't have any power. She does, and she's exercised it, and there are receipts and results and accomplishments to be discussed. But I understand that everybody doesn't have the fluency in her record. And I understand that even sometimes for her, it might just be easier when she's talking to people privately and they go out and blab about what the hell they're talking about on the internet to just kind of concede, okay, she hasn't done enough. Me, I don't concede an inch, okay? If it's not true, I'm not giving you an inch. But that's me. My thing is, what I don't like about what Charlamagne said, I don't have a problem with him saying that she has to earn the vote. What I do have a problem with is when you said she has to do things, almost leaving it out there as though she isn't already doing those things. But you said the same way that she has rallies for donors and she has to have rallies for the voters. Duh. You haven't seen it? You haven't seen 15,000 people here? You haven't seen 15,000 people in Arizona? 15,000 people in Philly? You haven't seen the crowds? When she accepted the nomination, she accepted it from a big ass rally in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, the same site of the Republican National Convention. And so what I have a problem with, and this is what I talked about in my video, I have a problem with parroting a narrative when you have the power to not parrot, but to actually correct the record. When you have the power to push back on a narrative, when you have the power to add context around things. Yes, Vice President Kamala Harris has to earn the votes. She is earning the votes by doing things like taking a bus tour across. She's devoting so much time to Atlanta, to Georgia. She could have been like, well, let me wait till I'm 10 points up in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Michigan, and then I'll see y'all later in Atlanta. No, she is touring the country and she's talking to voters, tens of thousands of voters each time. She does smaller events as well. So the idea that she has to do something as though that's a revelation to her, the idea that there is some action that has to happen that has not already happened time and time again, that's where, to me, that's the deficiency, because I think it's our responsibility. If you're going to talk politics, you don't have to talk politics. There's some people, oh, now, that ain't my thing. I don't really know. I ain't going to talk about it. That's okay. But if you're going to talk about it, don't just parrot the narratives. You have to bring information. You have to bring depth to a topic beyond punditry, beyond parroting things. And when you, for instance, Charlamagne sat big, huge, massive stage, because he sat with Angela Rye and Andrew Gillum and Tiffany Cross. They had the Native Land podcast / Breakfast Club display on the DNC. So you sat there, prime position, interviewing Congress people, the dignitaries of the Democratic Party, asking them policy questions, getting policy answers. There, I saw him. I didn't interact with him personally, but you were there the night that VP accepted her speech. So you have the context in your mind. You have witnessed the context. You have witnessed the policy. Don't you have a responsibility to share that information that you've had a front row, red carpet, huge, massive seat to? That's what
That
I would.
millions of
That's
people
what
will
I
never
think.
get access to.
Oh,
Millions of folks would
absolutely.
never get that kind of access.
Yeah. I mean, VP hasn't been on the Reese Carper show. Do I say fuck her? I'm not going to tell people the fact that I know I can run down her policy. I can run down her record for the past 20 years. No, I'm not going to do that. Whether she comes on my show or not, my assignment isn't to my career or my brand. My assignment is to my community. And if I ever am in a position to bring facts where there's confusion, to bring clarity where there's chaos, to bring enlightenment, whether you agree with it or not. A lot of people don't agree, and that's fine. You can argue with the facts, not me, because I'm just telling you the facts. I'm going to do that. That's my charge, and that's my responsibility. And I just wish that the people who have the biggest platforms would do the same. I'm not saying that they do all bad. And again, it's not even just about him. I'm saying anybody and everybody. The mainstream media complained about the content creators. And the only coverage that most of them gave was complaining about the content creators. Did you talk about the policy? Did you talk about the shit that they were talking about on stage? You just talk about the fact that somebody was doing selfies and shit on TikToks. That's what I'm saying. There's too little talk about the policies. They want Kamala Harris to sit down for an interview, and they just gonna ask her about the poll numbers. Trump said you ain't black and all the bullshit. Then now they're gonna ask her about policy. So that's what I'm saying. Let's get to the motherfucking policy.